All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live on Facebook Live, another Facebook Live, and today we are very fortunate for our top producer panel. We have, Nisreen Hawley, we have Matthew Mullin, and we also have George Geronsin. Nisreen is, thank you. Well, rather than introduce where you're from, I'll let you guys do that. Instead of me talking, I'll let you guys talk. Let's start, ladies, first with Nisreen. Tell them where you're from and maybe a little about yourself, please.
Yeah, sure. I am from our office in beautiful Sedona, Arizona. I moved to Sedona in 1999 from Las Vegas, and I got my license shortly after I moved there. I did at some point have my own little brokerage when I was married with my husband, and we did a lot of things in that foreclosure time. We did a lot of representation of the banks, and we had to do a lot of tough negotiating, which definitely is a learning experience and certainly has paid off, since then in terms of getting contracts through, difficult ones. And then in 2017, I came to Berkshire Hathaway, and that was sort of a career-changing decision for me to have the backing of the brand and to have all the tools that were available. And I had taken some classes in marketing, in between time. And so all the tools that were provided for me, plus the classes that I had taken, really took off. And so my career from 2017 till now has just each year gotten a little bit better than the last.
Yeah, it was a whole total different thing there after the 2007 and 8 crash. When you say tough negotiate, I'm sure you're talking about negotiating, getting those listings from the bank, and then being like a property manager, managing them until they sell, right?
Yeah, so it's a very different experience dealing with somebody who has never seen, you're selling a house for somebody who's never seen the house that you're selling, right? They're an asset manager in Florida, or wherever they are, and you're here in Arizona, and you're meeting with the people who were foreclosed on for whatever unfortunate circumstance they had. You're negotiating a cash for keys. You're trying to keep the property in good condition. Then you get it ready for marketing. And then with the offers, again, they're far away and they don't know your market. So there's a lot of education. You're educating the seller quite a bit more than usual.
Awesome. All right, Nisreen. Awesome. All right. And by the way, I feel I should mention that each one of these people are number one in their market with our company as well. Let's go to you, Matt.
Morning. Thanks for having me.
Morning.
So I was born and raised here in Las Vegas. I've been doing this 21 years now. And before real estate, I was in corporate finance and economics, moved back east for 5 years for college, worked in finance. Real estate was actually the last thing in the world I thought I would be doing when I got into this business. But for the first 6 years in the business, I was in an independent brokerage, small office, wanted to be different in the business. And I feel like I've kind of seen, I'm grateful. I feel like I've seen in 21 years, various different markets in Vegas, ups, downs, and various different perspectives, being independent brokerage for the first 6 years, independent agent, and then joined this company in 2009, which was a transformative decision because when I first got in the business, I just wanted to be different. And then I realized I need to be surrounding myself with people doing a lot more business than I was to learn. But my ego was a little bit too big early on in the business. And I also, I transformed about 2009, 2010. I started realizing what I liked about the business, what I didn't like about the business, almost left the business because I got burnt out. I'll get into that and probably a little bit in the strengths, but that's when I decided to start building a business within the business, learned a lot from this company and Mark Stark in that front. And so I've been independent agent, independent brokerage, team leader. I managed a branch at this company for a couple of years and seen a lot of different perspectives and gotten clear on, how and what I love in the business. So that's why I do what I do now.
Yes, I remember I started here and you were running your team and managing the Sahara branch. Remember those days?
Yes.
That was fun. Talk about outside your comfort zone. That was a blast for you, but I think it was really good for them. Some of the agents still talk about it, that you were the manager there. Yeah. All right. Awesome, Matt. Thank you very much. All right, Mr. California, George Geronsin, you are up, my man. Let's hear it.
All right. So obviously, George Geronsin. I am from Anaheim Hills, California. So my career actually started out about 43 years ago when I was in the womb. I came from a family that was ingrained in real estate. And I remember when my mother came to our classroom in fourth grade for career day. And we had a police officer, firefighter, and then my mother, the real estate agent. So there was three things that I chose as a child that I wanted to be: a police officer, a veterinarian, or a realtor. And here I am today. I chose that path. Went to Arizona State University, so shout out to everybody from Arizona out there. And I think, Rick, I told you this. So one thing that's interesting is I went to school. I got my business degree at ASU. But before joining the family business out here, I kind of wanted to learn the business on my own and fail on my own. And before coming over here, I didn't want to be a dead weight. So I actually went through a very long interview process with Alan Levinson of the Levinson team. This is back in the early 2000s.
Wow, I did not know that.
It wasn't a long interview process, but Alan was great. I haven't talked to Alan probably in 18, 19 years. So hope he's doing well. And that kind of started my career. So I worked in Arizona for about 2 years on my own. My kind of niche was investors. So I did some management out there. I worked with some professional athletes that would come out for spring training from California for some of our resources. And then I joined the family business in, I think it was about 2004. I moved out here. So I've been here ever since.
All right, great. Yes, and we should probably mention that your mother and your sister and you guys have your team, and it's awesome, and you guys do a great job. I met your mother in 1990 at a Mike Ferry event. I remember that. So that's great. All right, so let's get into it now. Okay, so there we go. That's where everybody's from. And I think now, maintaining year after year, being top agents in your market, there's obviously some talents, some strengths, and so forth that you have in order to do that. And I know that you guys all do it differently. That's why it's so great to have you all on the same panel here. So Nisreen, right back to you. Give us some of your strengths. How do you do it year after year? Because pretty much when you came in 2017, you've been number one in that office ever since you walked through the door, which is great. How do you do that? What are your strengths? Help them understand what you do on a daily basis.
Sure. I think a couple of the things I would say that are my strengths. Number one is the marketing side of things. So in that little bit of downtime that I had where I wasn't really active and my kids were very little, I took all these classes on becoming a social media marketing manager. And I was baking, making things from home and doing things out of my kitchen, people's weddings and anniversaries and whatnot. So I would share those things online, and orders started flooding in for, baked goods and chocolate and whatnot. And when I reactivated my license, I think I told you this story before. I wanted to do a closing gift for my very first transaction 2 months back in the business. And I didn't have much money because I had just been through the divorce. I was in a tiny rental, and so I decided I would bake them something nice. So I made them some vanilla cupcakes. I made homemade sea salt caramel. I made it look really pretty. And I put it on my Facebook, and I said, hey, when your realtor's a baker, right? It's cupcakes at closing day. And people went nuts. So I just started doing it. And now I make, like 40, 50 dozen cupcakes a year. And people still.
Now, I have to attest, when I go there and speak, she makes me cupcakes. Cupcakes are definitely one of her strengths.
So I want to say I combined the marketing knowledge that I got, with really connecting with people on social and doing just being there, having that it's like a pop by every day, right? Every time you post something on your Facebook and you've got a large following and connections. And then it was also the baked goods and just having essentially a unique personalized, gift to give them that really stood out to people that showed that you care. So, the marketing, the care that goes into like all the things that I do from beginning to end on the transaction. Staying organized is huge. And then also staying calm, in the negotiations, because when we got pretty crazy there, when the interest rates were low and there were bidding wars, and when you get 17 offers on your listing and the opening weekend, there's going to be 16 mad people that didn't get their offer accepted. And so
True.
Just being able to stay, calm and centered and professional and polite. I think that those are, I would say, really my foundational strengths.
Plus, you're like a walking commercial. You have to be centered and calm when you live in the positive energy vortex of the universe, Sedona, right? You have to be.
Absolutely.
She goes like this. I love it. Either she's meditating or she's Italian. I can't figure out which. Hey. No, so true. And I will have to say that I think your social media is great. You even do the doing the words to the music and so forth too, which I'm sure you have a lot of followers, which is great because it's original. You're real. You're showing them who you are, and it's really good too. And I think that's a huge part of your business.
Yeah, I just like making connections. I mean, not only with my sphere, but with the other agents in our network, out of our network, cross brokerage. I do a little mastermind thing from my house with agents from all the brokerages that we have here in Sedona, and just collaborating and staying, in touch and being aware of what's coming to the market and,
Yep.
how to work.
And all three of you are great because you're all not afraid to share with the other agents in the office what you do. And I know you do that really well, Nisreen, and I know Matt and George do that as well, which is really helpful. It's fun to share it and help everybody else be successful too, right? Winners want everyone to succeed.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah, the collaboration happens at the top. The competition is, at a different level.
Yeah. And you've got some really good agents in your office doing some really good stuff on social media,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, Nisreen. Cool. How about you, Matt? Some of your strengths. Let's hear it, my man.
Well, I thought about this when you asked it, and one of the first things that came to my mind was continuous learning. But I kind of naturally did that when I first got in the business. If I look back, it's been 20 years now, and I kind of reflected on the fact that I think my career is bucketed into two phases. Phase one, knowledge of the business. For first 10 years, I was just trying to learn everything I could because I didn't know anything and I was afraid to look stupid or not have the answers. And I felt like I had to have all the answers. So I did a ton of learning about the business and the technicalities of the business. But the second phase, I think, is what really was transformative, which is not seeking knowledge of the business, but seeking knowledge about myself. So I actually think that the two biggest strengths that I've realized, first phase of the business, my first 10 years, 10 years, because I didn't know any better and because I didn't know anything, I was naturally asking a lot of questions. I had no idea that's probably one of the most important skills you can ever develop in this business is asking great questions. But I was just doing it because I didn't know any better. And then I think, so that's skill number one that I would say that I've gotten really focused on leveraging when I realized that is a critical strength and it's a natural strength of mine as an analytical, it's just ask a bunch of questions. So I was like, you mean everybody else asks questions like this? So I think asking great questions is skill number one. I think that was the biggest shift for me in my career, was recognizing that was the important skill, because I did it naturally early on. But once I learned a bunch of industry knowledge and I got some experience and I was doing really good business, then I turned into my know-it-all phase and knew all the answers and stopped learning and felt like, oh, I have all the answers and I'm going to give other people the answers. And I became less effective, burnt out, stressed, overwhelmed, and almost quit the business. So asking great questions, I think, is skill number one. When I got back to that, I became a lot more effective and enjoyed the business. And I think on that second front, the skill number two, I'm still working on, but that's really, really, really know who I am and self-knowledge. So, I've heard it from mentors all over the place. Who are you? What do you want? What price are you willing to pay? Those are the three key questions. And the knowing who I am, because I spent a lot of time early in my career chasing other people. Like, oh, look at what they're doing. Oh, look at what are they doing that works really well, and what's that person doing? And I think one of the most uncomfortable things I've ever experienced in my career is trying to be someone I'm not. So I'm an analytical introvert. For the 16 personalities, or anybody that's familiar with that survey, which I use a lot, I'm the defender. I'm an assertive defender, and the ISFJ. And I learned a lot about myself in that. And I just designed the business and my goals around that instead of trying to be someone else. So, yeah, I think that, those are the two biggest skills I focus on right now.
I love
ask
it.
great questions and focus on what I'm good at, and don't do stuff I'm not. And don't try to be other people.
No, I love it. Yeah, the old joke: be yourself. Everyone else is taken.
Yeah.
Right. And I've been around out of the three of you. I've been around you the most because you're right here at the St. Rose office, and your team will back you 100% on that. You do ask a lot of questions, even though he's very humble, folks. He didn't tell you he's a Princeton graduate. He said I graduated with a degree, but he's a smart guy. Graduated from Princeton, knows what he's doing. Right. And still ask the most questions in the room. Right. So Good job. All right. Awesome. All right, George. How about you, my man?
Well, I'd say probably biggest asset is that we focus on is customer experience. And, everybody knows if you've been in the business, especially the last 20 some years, the business is ever changing. And, when I started, we were doing carbon copies. We were the gatekeepers. Everybody had to come through us, right? Now everybody has access to information, and more information than most real estate agents even know personally. And what troubles me in our industry that people don't look at this and they don't take it seriously as a job and a career. And in anything else, and I'm a sports guy, so if you want to play in the NFL and you want to be the top 0.01%, you are training every single day. I don't care how good you are, you can get better. And to Matt's point is that the successful people realize that. And, they're not just focused on the everyday sales and the marketing, because what good does the marketing do if you get your name and your brand out there, but you can't build the rapport with the client and you can't convert those leads that you actually generate? You just burned your money and wasted your money. So, my thoughts for everybody in this business is that, one, I'd be very scared that AI is going to replace you, because it will. And if you're not willing to put in the work, then you might as well invest in NVIDIA and sit on your couch, because that is what is going to take the place of a lot of us, because you think that you are sales representatives. And in actuality, if you want to be successful in this business and call it a career, you are a real estate advisor. And it's your duty at the end of the day to make sure that you're very well studied on geopolitical issues, economic issues, hyperlocally, nationally, globally, all these things that affects different marketplaces, and gives you the knowledge and experience to talk intelligently to the clientele. That's what builds rapport. And then also focus on, instead of focusing on how many sales you're going to have this year, focus on the individual sales that you have and the customer experience. Make sure that customer goes away as a storyteller for you. It's the best marketing, it's the cheapest marketing you can ever do. If you went above and beyond for that client and they knew at the end of the day that, listen, George didn't really care about the commission, he cared about us. And if I ever have a real estate transaction, a friend, they're going to know who to call, and I'm going to refer George Geronsin. And that's how we built our business. That is the marketing that we've been able to do what we do every single year and build on that. because one turns into 12 deals. It's easy. But you know what? You've got to do what it takes and make sure that that customer at the end of the day has one of the greatest experiences. And it's not just, a lot of that has to do with the knowledge. And you got to work outside of the business and the sales every day, read different articles, see different theories, right? So that when you are sitting down with your client, you can definitely advise them and ask questions like Matt said. Every client has a different situation. I have clients that shouldn't buy a house right now. And I tell them, I'm like, you need to rent. And they appreciate that. And I explain to them why, right? Because I'm not out to just sell them a house. I'm invested in them and their financial future. And they're going to come to me in a year, 2 years. They're going to buy a house. And they're going to tell their friends, you know what? George didn't even try and sell me a house. He actually told me to rent. And that goes a long way. So that to me is one of our greatest assets and gifts that we conduct ourselves in business. I really don't have anybody that I can even think of over 1,000 transactions that would say, you know what, I really am upset about the house that I bought. I've ripped up contracts in front of buyers when I got the feeling that the house wasn't for them, you know. So
I love it.
My
Doing what's right for them. And you know what? It's so true, because I remember there was a time in my area after the downturn, and people owned properties, and they were like, I'm going to sell my house and buy a new one. And I would tell them, have you ever thought about keeping this one and buying a new one as an investment, right? And they're like, no, I haven't. Can I? Right. So when you offer them suggestions that they're not thinking of, or give them opportunities, and you get customers. Plus, you know, it's the old golden rule, right? Right, George? Remember when we got our license? I mean, I've been doing this for 39 years. I went to high school, 2 years of college, and then I've been that's my 39th year in real estate. And I remember how much more serious that fiduciary responsibility used to be talked about than it is today. And you kind of described it on steroids, which I think is really cool. All right, so let's go around the horn again here. All right, now I'm going to throw the curveball, the one I didn't tell you. I would say in today's market, whether they're a brand new agent or they're a, just an agent who's been seasoned, who's like in a rut, wants to go to the next level, what would be the best piece of advice you could give them, Nisreen?
I would say for them to look to other agents and see who they want to model their business by, and see if they can pick their brain, even if it's just going out to coffee. And like Matt was saying, ask a lot of questions. I think that's so important with the agents that I mentor. I really stress to them, ask your questions, but ask them before, not, after the fact, after you've already, if you get something in front of you and you don't know how to handle it, like, don't be afraid to ask.
I love that. So model agents, maybe even if it's not even an agent in your market, if it's somebody, driving distance, flying distance, go spend a day or two with them, follow them around, shadow them. I think that's huge.
Yeah. One of the other good things, about the social media aspect of what we do is I have a lot of agents from other states that I follow, and they follow me back, and I get to see what they're doing, if they're sharing online and their videos and their advice and their things, and you go, oh, you know what, that's a really good idea. I might incorporate that into what I do. And just making those connections, across the different states and different brokerages, and everybody does things the same in some regard and then different in other ways. So sort of picking and choosing how you want to model your business.
I love it. And just because you probably are the most active on social media, what would be like, if I'm somebody that wants to get started in it, where would I get started? What's the best platform or maybe a little system I could implement just to get it going?
So that it's sort of subjective of what people are more comfortable with. Some people do better on Facebook and have a bigger following there, some on Instagram, some on LinkedIn, but wherever you have the greatest following and you maybe spend more of your time or you feel more comfortable with, start there. There are so many platforms and so many things you can do. And If you don't want to be on YouTube and you don't want to have a podcast and you don't want to have a video team following you around everywhere, you don't really have to. I mean, you can do little 90-second clips on Instagram. And if that's what you're more comfortable with, go with what feels good to you and focus on maybe 2 or 3 platforms and really be consistent with those, because otherwise you could spread yourself too thin and then you're not getting any benefit from any of the platforms.
Very true. Yeah. I up until recently, I thought, well, I'm more of a Facebook guy because I'm 59, and Instagram's like 18 to 30. But then I've been doing videos like every day now for years. And lately, most of my views are on TikTok, which I have the smallest amount of people, yet the most views. So it's kind of weird. You never know. I didn't think I'd be a TikTok type person because of my age, but if you're consistent, people will watch it, right?
Yeah, consistency is probably the number one thing. Yeah.
And I'm definitely not dancing. I would not subject people to that.
But when you play guitar, I see you get a lot of views then. Definitely.
It's true. I do when I do that. Anything out of the ordinary. Like I was wearing a Patriot. Matter of fact, George, we were talking about Edelman. I was wearing, when I did my Patriots video on Friday, I was wearing an Edelman the year he won Super Bowl MVP. And I got 1,100, like almost 1,200 views on YouTube. I think it was because I was wearing something different than normal. Like, what is he doing today? Type thing, So maybe I can implement more of that. All right, Nisreen. Awesome. All right, Matt, same question to you, my man. Advice in today's market. You can be specific, whatever you're comfortable sharing.
All right. I love what Nisreen had to say. I'm going to build on a little bit. I liked looking for what you want out there and then going and learning about it. But I think I'm going to lean back towards one of the strengths that was most transformative to me, which is when you're doing that, don't just look for what they're doing. I loved what Nisreen said about do what feels right to you. So don't just look at what they're doing. Look at how they're doing it. And does that feel like something you want to be? Who do you want to be? How do you want to be? So I think the advice I have is do some self-reflection. Go learn about yourself and what's most important to you and your own strengths. And I think the simplest way to do that would be that 16 personalities assessment that I've shared. I've gotten it from the company. I've used it. We use this religiously internally on the group. I mean, I do. I look through and I say, oh, that's exactly what's getting in the way right now and why this is not working or feeling uncomfortable or just not aligned with who I am. So I think when I went through that report and read through, it's a simple, easy read. Strengths, weaknesses, ideal career paths, things you should be doing. Mine said that I should be, what on earth are you doing in real estate sales? You should be like an engineer. so
a civil engineer.
Yeah, well, which ultimately though, that's kind of how I decided to put the strength to use in the business. I'll engineer the systems that, help a team run or help people get in touch with these things themselves. So, I think just do some homework on yourself and the business will take care of itself. I
love it too.
I heard somebody say this. I just want to share it real quick.
Yep.
I think I don't want to mess it up, but I'm going to say it. I am who I am, not because I do and achieve success. I do and achieve success because of who I am. So flip the script. Do that homework first.
I love it. And I think you have a unique way, Matt, because this is just because I speak, if you're with your team every now and then, and they call me and I do, I'll do little videos, whatever they ask me to do, because it's a great crew. But you have a unique way of getting, helping people. Like I'll use Brian as an example, helping people go from being decent to getting the most out of them if it's important to them. Like you can't tell somebody, you should be doing 50 deals and they only want to do 15 or 20, right? But you can help them do what they want to do by pulling out of them what's possible. And you do a really good job of that.
Thank you.
My pleasure. All right, George, piece of advice, especially in today's market, what would you tell them?
Media is big, and I'm not going to be the one that's going to give you advice on that because you probably know, Rick. I am not out there on social media. I'm behind the scenes. Luckily, I have my sister and partner that loves that, so she's all over the place, and that's what makes.
She's more of a ham.
Yeah. But what I would say in going forward, I mean, we all know that transaction counts down, and that's probably going to be so into the near future, the next couple of years. And you have to create value in this market. You know, I think that being a listing agent is, if you want to be successful, especially in the next couple of years and get through this cycle, you got to have listings. And to get listings, you have to farm neighborhoods. But I think what agents make the mistake of, whether they're newer agents or seasoned agents, is that their farms are too big. I mean, they're doing like thousands of homes and they're not doing it enough. So, and they don't have enough listings, they become irrelevant, right? So you start small in neighborhoods, hyperlocal, hit them more often, gain a reputation in those neighborhoods, and then build on that. But you got to have some systematic structure that's in place nowadays. And I think you have to start smaller to grow big. And I think people are trying so much to get their name out there on social media, all these different neighborhoods and everything, and they're getting lost in the crowd. So that would be my advice to anybody today, is that you have to present value to the market. So you figure out what your value proposition is, and you got to get listings. And to get listings, you have to figure out a way to become a neighborhood specialist in one specific or multiple areas smaller.
I love it. I love it too. And I feel, now that I'm looking at all three of you and thinking of social media, I've thought, you know what? That's how I got to know your kids. Nisreen, your two, yeah. Matt, you said, George, yours, and your family situation by you guys sharing it on social media. And I personally, now when social media first came out, I was totally against that. I mean, I can't even tell you what I used to call Facebook when it first came out. It's an HR violation. Now you get to know people. And like you were saying, George, you get to know them. You see their personal situations. You get to like them, trust them. I think it's part of the process. Nisreen, I think, said it best too. It's like a pop-by. They're seeing you talking. They're getting to know you. It's how you think, what your beliefs are, and so forth. Just don't share anything political or religious if you want business. So anyway, I think that's great. All right. Well, I just want to say thank you very much today. Perfect timing too, you guys. Thanks for taking your time out today. I'm sure we got a lot of nuggets. I'm going to share this everywhere. My YouTube channel, we're going to blast it out on social media. I really appreciate. Anybody any final words from any one of you?
I think it's going to be a great 2024. I mean, we've had a good start, and I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. So we're already seeing a pretty robust spring market. So we got a lot of demand back in the marketplace, multiple offers. I think we're going to foresee that in the near future going into the summer. Fourth quarter, it's election year, so usually we see a slowdown. A lot of buyers, especially in luxury, kind of go to the sidelines. So if you have luxury clients, I am advising them right now, if you're looking to sell, put the property on the market sooner than later. If you wait till fourth quarter, a lot of those buyers are waiting to see what's going to happen after the elections and what policies are going to be in place. So
good.
And all I got to say is the future is bright. That's what we believe. We just had the best January we've ever had. I've been in this business 21 years through ups and downs, have grown consistently and steadily pretty much every year for 21 years. There's always business out there. This business works when you work it.
The future so bright, we got to wear shades. I love it. And sell more in 2024. You guys can use that. Okay.
Yeah,
I have it patented, but you guys can use it. All right, guys. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate you spending your time. I know how valuable that is. We'll see you next time. Bye, everybody. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.